This is the story of the missing submarine USS Scorpion in the Atlantic, a tale that begins not with a bang, but with a silence so profound it seemed almost alive. It was May 1968, and the cold, restless waters off the Azores carried a hush that unsettled even the most seasoned naval officers. The Scorpion, a skipjack-class nuclear submarine, had completed a series of routine patrols in the Atlantic. Her crew was experienced, disciplined, and proud of their vessel, yet there lingered a tension in the air, a subtle undercurrent of unease that no one could quite explain. The final mission had begun under ordinary circumstances. The submarine departed from Norfolk, Virginia, carrying a full complement of 99 officers and sailors. Its path was plotted with precision, a routine course in the vast Atlantic expanse. Communications were brief and uneventful at first. Captain James "Jim" Herrick, a man known for his meticulous nature and calm demeanor, had sent the usual reports: location, weather conditions, and sonar sweeps. Everything appeared standard, but beneath the surface, both literally and figuratively, something was brewing, something that would soon push the boundaries of reason. On May 20th, the Scorpion sent a message that would mark the last official communication. It was short, clipped, almost ordinary. All systems normal, continuing patrol. But in the cold glow of the Atlantic night, this message carried with it a weight of finality that no one realized at the time. Within hours, the submarine vanished. There was no distress call, no recorded anomaly, no hint that anything was amiss. One moment, the Scorpion existed in the vast gray ocean, and the next, it was gone. The disappearance ignited confusion and fear within naval circles. Initial theories ranged from catastrophic mechanical failure to a torpedo accident. The U.S. Navy scoured records and analyzed prior missions for clues, but every trace seemed to dissolve into the endless abyss of the Atlantic. There were whispers of Soviet involvement, rumors of espionage gone wrong, and even the most outlandish suggestions that the submarine had somehow slipped into a tear in reality itself. To the public, it was a cold, mysterious headline. To those who knew the crew personally, it became an obsession, a gnawing question that refused to be silenced. What had happened to the USS Scorpion? Days turned into weeks, and the official search expanded to include sonar sweeps, deep-sea submersibles, and specialized reconnaissance aircraft. Yet the Atlantic, indifferent and infinite, yielded no answers. Those who participated in the search described the waters as unnatural, almost sentient. Sonar signals returned with strange anomalies, echoes that seemed to shift and warp in impossible ways. Depth charges, sound pulses, even magnetic field scans revealed irregular readings that couldn't be explained by known geological formations or marine life. It was as if the ocean itself was hiding something, watching the searchers with patient malice. In the months following the disappearance, a series of unusual reports began surfacing from nearby merchant vessels and submarine crews. These were never officially confirmed, and yet they painted a chilling pattern. Ships reported strange, rhythmic noises deep below the hulls, mechanical, like a submarine engine, yet distorted and erratic. Shadows were glimpsed on sonar screens, moving independently of any known object. The ocean currents seemed to shift without reason, sweeping ships off course and interfering with navigation systems. Every report carried a sense of dread, a subtle suggestion that something had changed in the Atlantic, something beyond human comprehension. Theories multiplied, ranging from plausible to fantastical. Some suggested the Scorpion had struck an undetected underwater canyon or minefield. Others proposed that the crew had intentionally gone rogue, taking the submarine to an unknown location. But the most persistent and unnerving speculation concerned the Bermuda Triangle, a phrase that had already begun to capture the public imagination. Could the Scorpion have drifted into an invisible vortex, a rift in the ocean where normal rules of physics failed? Though the Navy publicly dismissed such notions among sailors and enthusiasts, the idea refused to die. For those who had served aboard submarines, the Scorpion's disappearance became a cautionary tale whispered in mess halls and briefing rooms. They spoke of the submarine as if it were haunted, a vessel cursed by some hidden force in the depths. One retired sonar technician, speaking decades later, recounted a detail that had never reached the media. "We kept finding these readings," he said, voice low. "Signals like a heartbeat, regular and slow, deep beneath the ocean floor. It was not natural. And then sometimes, we'd hear a voice. Not over radio, not words we could understand. Just whispers, faint, from the black." The mystery intensified when the wreckage of the Scorpion was finally discovered, nearly a year after it disappeared. In October 1969, a search team located the submarine lying on the ocean floor, approximately 400 miles southwest of the Azores. The vessel was broken into large sections, scattered across the seabed. The hull was damaged, but investigators could find no evidence of external attack. Internal systems appeared functional at the moment of collapse, which suggested a sudden, catastrophic implosion. Yet certain details defied logic. The control room showed signs of abrupt abandonment, with logs and instruments left mid-operation. Personal belongings were strewn, untouched, as if the crew had vanished in an instant. There were no injuries consistent with an explosion, no distress signals, no indication that anyone on board had anticipated the disaster. Among the wreckage, divers reported a sensation of unease, a subtle, oppressive presence. Instruments would malfunction intermittently, and compasses spun erratically. Deep-sea cameras recorded fleeting shadows and movements that could not be identified. Some of the divers refused to speak on record, citing fear of ridicule, but their descriptions were consistent. A darkness in the water that felt alive, curling around them like fingers, and a low, vibrating hum that resonated through the hull fragments. What made the USS Scorpion's case even more perplexing were the odd, small details that seemed to mock explanation. Personal logs found on board referenced unexplained technical issues, navigation systems glitching, sonar readings showing objects that didn't exist, engines sounding as though they were being manipulated externally. Several crew members had written of a growing unease, an intuition that something beneath the ocean was watching them. One entry, hastily scribbled, simply read, "The sea is not empty, it listens." Over the years, conspiracy theorists, writers, and oceanographers have speculated endlessly about the Scorpion's fate. Some claim the submarine was drawn into an unknown underwater trench that warped space and time. Others whisper that it encountered a secret Soviet device or a classified experiment gone wrong. Yet the most enduring theory is the one that requires no technology, no military plot, a force beyond human understanding, lurking in the deep, indifferent, yet omnipotent. It is a theory grounded in fear, not evidence, but it persists precisely because the alternative, believing that 99 men simply vanished into the Atlantic without trace, is even harder to accept. In exploring the wreckage, modern researchers discovered anomalies that remain unexplained to this day. Structural analysis indicated implosion depths that were inconsistent with known submarine limits. The nuclear reactor, which should have been a catastrophic risk in an accident, showed no sign of meltdown. Instruments designed to record data at the moment of disaster were either wiped clean or corrupted. Every investigation raised more questions than answers, and the Scorpion became a symbol of a mystery that the ocean jealously guards. Some of the more chilling accounts came from sonar operators who were not on board the Scorpion but encountered its echoes years later. While conducting routine patrols in the same area, they reported hearing signals that matched the signature of the missing submarine. The signals were slow, methodical, like the heartbeat of a living machine. Attempts to triangulate the source failed. The signals appeared to move unpredictably, vanishing and reappearing as if they were aware of the observers. Those who experienced it described an icy dread, a feeling that the ocean was speaking, warning, or perhaps simply acknowledging them. Even now, decades later, the story of the USS Scorpion has an uncanny ability to unsettle those who study it. It is not just the loss of a vessel, but the questions it raises. Questions about what might lurk in the unexplored depths of our oceans, about the thin veil that separates the known from the unknowable. The Atlantic is vast and unyielding, and beneath its waves lies a world that resists human understanding. A place where time, gravity, and perception might bend in ways we cannot yet comprehend. As we remember the USS Scorpion, we do not simply mourn a lost submarine or its crew. We confront a deeper, more disturbing reality. The ocean is alive with secrets, patient and eternal, and sometimes it chooses to remind us of its dominion in ways that are both terrifying and inexplicable. The silence that followed the Scorpion's disappearance was not merely the absence of sound. It was the presence of something beyond comprehension, a reminder that some mysteries are meant not to be solved, but to be feared. And yet, the story does not end at the wreckage. Even today, reports emerge, fleeting, unconfirmed, impossible to verify, of strange sonar readings in the same region, of shadows moving in patterns that defy logic, of communications interrupted by static that carries the faintest trace of a voice. Mariners speak in hushed tones of a presence beneath the waves, of a memory that lingers long after the submarine has been claimed by the deep. There are even those who swear they have glimpsed shapes resembling the Scorpion's hull, intact, drifting silently in the abyss as if time itself refuses to let it rest. It is this enduring, inexplicable quality that has cemented the USS Scorpion's disappearance as one of the most haunting naval mysteries of the 20th century. We may know the date it vanished, the approximate location of its wreckage, and the official assessments of its destruction, but the full story remains shrouded in darkness, hidden beneath waves that have no bottom. The deeper we probe, the more the ocean seems to push back, a silent sentinel guarding a secret that is perhaps too vast, too incomprehensible for the human mind to contain. And so the Atlantic holds its breath, keeping the USS Scorpion suspended in a state between history and legend, between fact and fear. Every sonar blip that mimics its signature, every whisper of metal beneath the waves, every shadow in the deep becomes a reminder. The ocean does not yield its secrets willingly, and some disappearances are never meant to be fully understood. The mystery of the USS Scorpion did not end with the discovery of its wreckage. If anything, that finding only deepened the enigma, sparking questions that would haunt naval historians, oceanographers, and even casual observers for decades. The submarine lay in pieces across the seabed, its hull fractured as though some immense invisible force had ripped it apart. Yet despite the apparent violence, the interior was eerily intact. Personal items, watches, letters, a half-finished deck of cards remained scattered untouched by time or decay. It was as if the crew had vanished, leaving their lives suspended in an instant. In the weeks following the discovery, investigators pored over every inch of the wreckage. Forensic teams analyzed structural damage, looking for evidence of external attack or catastrophic failure. They examined the nuclear reactor, which had remained safely contained despite the implosion. Sonar readings were replayed, magnetic anomalies re-examined, and yet nothing added up. According to physical principles, the Scorpion should have imploded at the depths it reached, but the pattern of damage did not align with known mechanics. Sections of the submarine appeared bent in impossible ways, twisted as though something had pulled from within rather than outside. Among the debris, divers and robotic submersibles recorded images that would unsettle even the most stoic observer. Shadows moved along the broken corridors of the hull, but not like drifting debris or marine life. These movements were deliberate, almost conscious, as if the submarine's interior had retained some memory of its crew. Light refracted strangely off the jagged edges of the hull, creating illusions of doors opening, of figures pacing in the darkness. Some images showed fleeting glimmers resembling faces, eyes staring from the void. Experts argued over optical distortions, but a few insisted these anomalies were far too precise, far too coordinated to be mere chance. Naval personnel who had been involved in the search began reporting psychological disturbances. Officers experienced vivid dreams of the Scorpion, often placing them aboard the vessel as it descended into the abyss. They described corridors stretching impossibly, instruments flickering, and the faintest echoes of voices, crewmates calling out, but in languages or tones that were not human, Some awoke screaming, drenched in sweat, convinced they had heard the implosion firsthand. Psychologists attributed it to stress and obsession, but the intensity of these experiences suggested something more. It was as if the submarine had imprinted itself onto their minds, leaving a trace of its final moments like a phantom wound. Then came the reports that truly defied rational explanation. Deep-sea monitoring stations, placed to observe tectonic activity and ocean currents near the Scorpion's resting place, began picking up signals that resembled the acoustic signature of a submarine engine, slow, rhythmic, and steady. Yet there was no submarine present. Over time, these signals grew stronger, more persistent, and more coordinated. Attempts to investigate with manned vessels or submersibles yielded nothing. The ocean seemed empty. Yet the signals continued, sometimes disappearing only to reappear days later in the same location, or drifting unpredictably across hundreds of miles of open water. Whispers began circulating within naval intelligence. Some officers suggested that the Scorpion had not entirely disappeared, but had instead been transported into an unknown trench, an underwater anomaly, or perhaps even a dimension hidden beneath the waves. While officially dismissed as fantasy, these theories gained traction among those who had spent time in the area. Submarine crews reported unnerving experiences, sudden drops in temperature, compasses spinning wildly, sonar echoes returning distorted images of their own vessels. Equipment failed for no reason. Lights flickered, and the water seemed to thrum with a low, persistent vibration, like the heartbeat of something immense and unseen. The phenomenon was not limited to the site of the wreckage. Similar anomalies appeared elsewhere in the Atlantic, particularly along deep oceanic ridges and unexplored canyons. Scientists recorded strange, high-pitched sounds emanating from depths that should have been silent, while magnetic fields fluctuated in ways that defied the laws of physics. Marine life behaved oddly. Schools of fish would circle a location in perfect synchronization. Whales would avoid entire regions without apparent reason. And uncharted currents formed, disappearing as suddenly as they appeared. It was as if the ocean itself had developed a consciousness, or at least a mechanism of observation, and the disappearance of the Scorpion had awakened it. Amid these anomalies, a small cadre of independent researchers and retired naval officers formed a group to investigate further. They referred to themselves quietly as the Scorpion Watchers, dedicated to studying unexplained signals, the wreckage, and any report that might shed light on the submarine's fate. They worked in secret, pooling resources and technology, and soon began to notice a disturbing pattern. The signals, acoustic, magnetic, and sometimes visual, appeared to exhibit an intelligence, a coordination that suggested not randomness, but purpose. A slow, rhythmic pulse repeated, almost like a communication attempt. Occasionally, these pulses would align with celestial or tidal events, as though the phenomenon interacted with the natural cycles of the planet. One particularly chilling experiment involved deploying a submersible to the site with high-definition cameras and sensors. The craft descended into the black, freezing water, streaming live footage to the surface. As it neared the wreck, instruments recorded sudden spikes in radiation, magnetic interference, and sonar echoes that seemed to mimic human speech patterns. The cameras showed what looked like a faint shimmer, an outline of the submarine's hull, perfectly intact, hovering just beyond the reach of visibility. The submersible approached cautiously, yet every attempt to get closer resulted in systems failing, as though the water itself resisted intrusion. When the craft was finally retrieved, it carried audio recordings of a low, continuous hum, overlaid with faint, incomprehensible whispers. These findings ignited a new wave of speculation. Some theorized that the Scorpion had encountered an unknown life form, perhaps a massive, sentient entity dwelling in the abyss. Others suggested a rift in the oceanic crust, a hidden trench where space and time behaved differently. Still others whispered of an experimental government project, one so secret that even the Navy HES official investigations were incomplete, a cover-up that spanned decades. The truth, however, remained as elusive as ever. Each new discovery seemed only to deepen the mystery, confirming that the Scorpion's fate was entwined with forces beyond comprehension. The crew members themselves became almost mythical figures in these discussions. Those who had known them spoke of their discipline, courage, and loyalty. Yet in personal logs and letters recovered from the wreckage, there were hints of fear that went unreported. Entries describing the sensation of being watched, sonar readings of objects moving independently, and strange mechanical malfunctions. One particularly haunting entry, written by a young sonar operator, simply read, "We are not alone. The ocean knows our names." Many dismissed it as imagination, stress, or coincidence, but in hindsight, these words carry a resonance that chills the soul. In the years that followed, interest in the Scorpion evolved beyond naval circles. Paranormal investigators, conspiracy theorists, and documentary filmmakers began exploring the story, weaving it into a tapestry of mysterious disappearances and underwater anomalies. The submarine became emblematic of humanity's inability to control or understand the deep. While technology advanced, enabling more precise mapping of the ocean floor and more sophisticated submersibles, the same fundamental mysteries persisted. No machine could explain the strange signals, the distorted sonar echoes, or the eerie sense of presence reported by divers. The Atlantic remained as opaque and secretive as ever. Some accounts even suggested that the wreckage itself exerted an influence beyond its immediate location. Ships passing through the general area reported electronics failures, inexplicable shifts in navigation, and a sense of being observed. Experienced mariners spoke of hallucinations, fleeting glimpses of figures in the water, the faint glint of metal shapes moving in perfect unison, whispers that seemed to echo from the depths. Many dismissed these as coincidence or imagination, but their consistency and detail suggested something more profound, something that lingered in the subconscious of those who ventured too close. A retired naval officer speaking under anonymity offered the most disturbing observation. "There are moments," he said quietly, "when the Atlantic itself feels alive. You can feel it watching you, listening. The Scorpion, it didn't just sink. It touched something down there, something older than us, something patient, and ever since that presence hasn't let go." His words, though chilling, were echoed by others who had studied the phenomenon. Whether metaphor or reality, they captured the essence of the fear that had grown around the Scorpion's disappearance. A fear rooted not in what we know, but in what we cannot begin to comprehend. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect is that the mystery is far from static. Reports of anomalous signals continue to this day, occasionally appearing in locations far from the original wreck site. Modern sonar operators sometimes encounter echoes that match the Scorpion's signature perfectly, as if the submarine itself persists in some altered state. Deep-sea observatories detect rhythmic pulses, whispers, and distortions that cannot be traced to natural phenomena. The ocean, it seems, has retained a memory, a mark of the Scorpion's passage that refuses to fade. As decades have passed, the USS Scorpion has transformed from a historical incident into a legend of the deep, a cautionary tale of the Atlantic's unfathomable darkness and the unknown forces lurking beneath its waves. The vessel is no longer simply a lost submarine. It has become a symbol of humanity's fragile grasp on reality, a reminder that even our most advanced technology and disciplined personnel are powerless in the face of the ocean's mysteries. The Scorpion's disappearance is a story of silence, of absence, and of presence. The presence of something vast, unseen, and eternal. Those who continue to search, study, and speculate are driven not only by curiosity, but by a need to confront the fear that comes with the unknown. Each sonar blip, each distorted signal, each shadow glimpsed in the abyss is a question left unanswered. A riddle the ocean refuses to solve, and in that refusal lies the true horror. The realization that the Atlantic is not merely water and rock, but a vast, sentient expanse capable of secrets, of judgment, and of witnessing events beyond human comprehension. The Scorpion may lie broken on the seabed, its metal skeleton slowly succumbing to corrosion, but in the collective consciousness of those who have encountered its story, it lives on. Every whisper in sonar readings, Every anomalous signal, every inexplicable phenomenon is a reminder that the ocean is alive with secrets, and that some mysteries, once touched, never release their hold. Even decades after the USS Scorpion disappeared, the Atlantic refused to reveal its secrets. Researchers, naval personnel, and independent investigators had all attempted to piece together the puzzle, but each effort only deepened the mystery. By the 1980s, a few daring expeditions equipped with advanced submersibles descended into the cold, black depths, cameras rolling and sensors active, each hoping to uncover the truth. The first submersible approached the wreckage cautiously. As it neared the site, sonar readings began to flicker, showing impossible shapes. Corridors extending beyond the submarine's dimensions, angles that defied geometry, rooms that should have collapsed appearing intact. The pilot reported vertigo, as if the vessel itself was twisting reality. Then came the whispers, faint, fractured, and layered across frequencies. Human yet distorted, the voices carried rhythm but no discernible words. In the following weeks, more submersibles and drones were sent. Each returned with increasingly disturbing evidence. Sonar echoes depicted elongated shapes moving independently of the wreckage. Lights flickered and died on vehicles. Cameras captured fleeting shadows behind jagged metal, and operators claimed to see faint outlines of the crew standing in impossible places. Acoustic signals grew more complex, patterns resembling Morse code or rhythmic sequences. Though of no known language, some suggested an AI-like echo of the Scorpion systems. Others whispered that the submarine itself was attempting communication from a state beyond understanding. Psychological effects on those near the wreckage were profound. Navy divers, scientists, and operators reported vivid hallucinations or dreamlike episodes during and after dives. They awoke recounting corridors stretching endlessly, engines humming with life, and the faces of the missing crew staring silently. One pilot described being carried through the wreckage as if guided, witnessing faces that were neither alive nor dead. Paranormal investigators documented anomalies meticulously. Persistent hums, shadows, visual distortions, and the inexplicable movements of deep-sea equipment. Some hypothesized the Scorpion's disappearance had awakened an ancient oceanic consciousness, capable of observation and manipulation. A former sonar technician recalled detecting a signal matching the Scorpion ES engine pattern hundreds of miles from the wreckage. Attempts to triangulate it were futile. The signal seemed aware, evading detection, shifting frequencies at will. "It was waiting," he whispered decades later. "I don't know for what, but it knew we were there." Civilian vessels added to the unease. Shipping crews reported strange currents where compasses spun wildly and navigation systems failed. Some saw shapes resembling the Scorpion drifting beneath the surface. Sonar echoes returned altered readings, as if the ocean itself warped their technology. The Atlantic had become a domain of uncertainty, alive with observation. Theories proliferated. Some scientists posited that the Scorpion had encountered a rift in reality, a trench where time, space, and physical laws behaved unpredictably. Others suggested a previously undiscovered intelligent life form had assimilated the submarine, echoing its presence like a ghost. Extreme theories claimed the vessel slipped into an alternate dimension, trapped between existence and non-existence, occasionally reaching back to leave traces detectable by instruments. The wreckage itself offered the most compelling evidence. Deep-sea imaging revealed patterns impossible to explain. Some sections were bent by forces beyond the ocean's pressure. Others twisted as if an internal force acted independently. Artifacts scattered through the debris seemed untouched by time. Watches stopped at precise moments. Diaries ended mid-sentence. Photographs of crew members remained crisp, frozen in a moment that defied decay. The crew's experiences were central to the mystery. Logs revealed moments of unease, subtle references to phenomena they could not explain. A junior officer wrote, "The shadows move where they should not. I hear whispers that are not ours. We are watched." Others mentioned failing systems, false instrument readings, and sensations of being pulled toward something unseen. The Scorpion's fate appeared gradual, creeping through the vessel like a silent intruder until its final disappearance. Science and myth intertwined. Oceanographers noted patterns resembling sunken cities, underwater ruins, and historical maritime disappearances. Some compared the Scorpion-ES fate to ships lost in the Bermuda Triangle, or ghost vessels drifting silently. While most scholars dismissed such parallels, the anomalies were too consistent to ignore. The Scorpion had vanished but left echoes, imprints, and phenomena suggesting the ocean remembered, observed, and perhaps mourned the lives it had claimed. Modern explorations continue cautiously. Autonomous submersibles with high-definition cameras, thermal sensors, and sophisticated sonar map the site intermittently. Each mission returns both fascinating and disturbing footage: fleeting shapes, distorted corridors, shadows flickering in impossible directions, and sounds defying explanation. Submersibles sometimes malfunction, their failures mirroring those reported by the original crew. Even decades later, the Scorpion exerts influence, bending technology and perception alike. Public fascination endures. Documentaries, books, and speculative theories proliferate, yet the deeper truth remains elusive. There is no clear cause for the implosion, no evidence of foul play, and no logical explanation for the persistent phenomena. What remains is silence, observation, and absence, a narrative defying conventional understanding, anchored in the haunting fact that 99 men vanished without warning. Skeptics argue that the ocean is vast, extreme, and unpredictable, and that human minds project fear onto the unknown. While valid, this fails to explain the precision of anomalies, rhythmic signals, coherent shadows, echoes resembling speech, and a sense of environmental awareness. These hint at forces beyond accident or natural processes, interacting with technology, perception, and perhaps consciousness itself. Stories persist of vessels encountering the same rhythmic hum from the Scorpion's resting place. Witnesses speak of shadows moving with intent, sonar readings mimicking human activity, and a presence that observes, anticipates, and responds. The Scorpion has become more than a vessel, an emblem of humanity's fragile place in a world where the known and unknown intersect. The ocean is not inert. Its depths hold memories and perhaps awareness, leaving indelible marks on those who approach too closely. The true horror of the Scorpion lies not in its destruction, but in the questions it raises, the dread it evokes, and the uncertainty that persists. It challenges our ability to understand, control, or predict the natural world. The Atlantic, infinite and patient, guards its secrets, with the Scorpion as proof that some mysteries are better left untouched. The vessel's echo lingers in sonar readings, memories of searchers, and imaginations of those who study it. A ghost in the machine, a presence in the deep refusing to fade. Perhaps the most chilling realization is that the Scorpion may not be alone. Other vessels have vanished in similar regions, other anomalies persist, and signals continue to emanate from supposedly empty places. The Atlantic's mysteries are ongoing, patient, and vast. The Scorpion reminds us that beneath the waves lies a realm beyond comprehension, where time, space, and reality bend, and where the boundary between living and lost is terrifyingly thin. Thus, the USS Scorpion's story concludes not with answers, but with the persistent echo of absence, a haunting presence that defies explanation. The crew, the vessel, and surrounding phenomena remain suspended in a liminal state, part history, part legend, part something unnameable. The Atlantic holds its breath, guarding secrets that warn any intruder of forces older, deeper, and far more patient than ourselves. The Scorpion lies broken yet alive in memory and myth. It whispers through sonar, shadows itself in the depths, and haunts those who seek to understand. Some call it coincidence, others an oceanic anomaly, and some dare call it supernatural. But one truth remains: some deep-sea mysteries are never meant to be solved, and some disappearances echo forever, not just in the mind, but in the fabric of reality. The USS Scorpion is gone from sight, yet present in ways defying logic. The ocean remembers, the signals persist, the shadows move. In the black, silent expanse of the Atlantic, the submarine waits, not as mere wreckage but as a sentinel of the unknown, a ghost of the deep. The story of the Scorpion is one of fear, wonder, and unsettling realization. The world is not fully ours to understand. The Atlantic keeps its secrets, and the disappearance of the Scorpion remains a testament to the enduring, terrifying power of the unknown. No matter the years or technology, the echoes of the Scorpion ripple through the deep, a chilling reminder that some forces, some disappearances, and some mysteries are eternal.